a sailor since his late teens and a senior captain these 20 years and more, marveled again at the ease and speed of the craft. Catapult. Her name was a play on words. Cat for her multi-hull configuration, and catapult for her speed. She was neither catamaran nor trimaran, more like something in between. She had a long, needle-sleek hull, with 2 submerged outriggers to stabilize the reach of her mast and the weight of her sails. A computer monitored the course, the angle and force of the wind of those great ribbed sails, then dictated the horizontal angle of the outriggers to the hull, so that the catapult always moved with maximum velocity and minimum draft unless the hand at the helm dictated otherwise. She was as experimental as she was beautiful, and had fascinated Richard and Robin when they first saw her so entirely that they would have arranged a trial sail in her somehow, even had their holiday plans on Silhouette Island not changed so dramatically. Hood glanced up at his friend and colleague, the Australian, Doc Weary. "No answer, Doc," he said. "Either there's no one aboard or they can't hear us." Weary's massive head tilted back as the Australian squinted up past the curved white blade of the mainsail to the communications aerial, extending the broad aerofoil mast nearly 80 feet above. Of all the high-tech equipment on board, Doc seemed least happy with that, thought Richard. Perhaps because it was about the only part of catapult neither he nor Hood had built. "So still there," he informed Hood, his flat tone and Sydney accent in marked contrast to the Americans. "They must have heard you." They were an odd pair, mused Richard, held together by bonds so deep that neither he nor Robin, who was so much better at that sort of thing, had been able to fathom them. They were both big men, but apart from their size, Sam Hood and Doc Weary presented a complete contrast. Hood was an automobile assembly line worker from Detroit. He seemed to have little formal education, but his fingers understood all things mechanical and electrical, from the simplest motor to the most complex microprocessor. Doc also fitted no conventional pattern. His long, fair mane, bound back from his forehead by an apparently immovable sweatband, seemed to enlarge an already massive head. Sitting foursquare on his thick neck and broad torso, it gave an impression of huge physical power at odds with the delicacy of those artistic hands and the fastidious intellect that guided them. Robin had managed to discover, though neither man boasted of the fact, that Weary had earned his nickname because he had been the only Ph.D. in his platoon in Vietnam, where Weary and Hood had first met. Robin. At the thought of her, Richard, smiling, turned his gaze across to his vital, beloved wife. She stood reed-thin, 5 feet 8 inches of vibrant energy, blonde, almost luminescent in the brightness. The intensity of his feeling for her filled him to bursting, as it often did, though Richard, perfectly English in this as in most things, rarely put his emotions on parade. She was concentrating absolutely on the black hulk of the freighter. The sight of the ship was now so important because her radio remained silent. Richard put all other thoughts from his mind and followed his wife's gaze. Were there any crewmen scaling down the hot black cliffs of her sides? Was there wreckage around bearing survivors? Were there lifeboats nearby? Which parts of her were ablaze? Was there anything clearly warning of danger, more than was apparent from her condition? Both he and Robin had painfully acquired experience in this field nearly 10 years ago now. They had abandoned the first ship they had served on together, the supertanker Prometheus, when it had caught fire in these latitudes on the other side of Africa. As far as Richard could see, this ship was an utterly undistinguished tramp. She was of the timeless three-castle design, with raised sections fore and aft, and a bridge-house midships. She seemed ageless. Conrad could have sailed in her, but no one else ever would. Much of the forecastle head, he now could see, was blown away. Her old-fashioned, nearly vertical bow rose from the restless sea perhaps 10 sheer